Hello, everyone, and welcome to Telling Tales. Here we tell atmospheric stories together through the medium of tabletop role-playing games. It's Monday night, our first one back after the festive break, and we are continuing our Shadows of Esteren game. We finished the Poison adventure contained within this prologue book, which was the game was created by Agate RPG, a French RPG company. So our next adventure will begin this evening. It's very exciting, called Redfall. Below the stream, there are links to our YouTube if you're watching on Twitch, or Twitch if you're watching on YouTube, our social media, Twitter and Instagram, our Discord, which you can join and come and chat to us. Please do that. We talk about tabletop role-playing games, Kickstarters that we can all spend our money on for tabletop role-playing games, Kickstarters that we can spend all our money on for things that aren't tabletop role-playing games, and sometimes films and books. And also our Patreon, which if you enjoy what we do, you can subscribe on there. You get bonus content, and you can get other bonuses all the way from joining other parts of that Discord, where you get behind the scenes and ahead of time information, and all the way up to Matt, who runs other games on the channel, running a game for you and your friends once a month. So all top quality stuff. Other things we do on the channel: on a Wednesday night, we have Simba Room. On a Thursday night, we have a system-spanning World of Darkness game, which has so far done werewolf and vampire and is still to do mage, changeling, and I've forgotten the other one again, which I always do. Somebody can help me. Steve will probably help in the chat. I've forgotten what the other one is. But it's really good. Oh, Wraith. Yes, thanks, Steve. It's really good. It's really exciting. So check that out on Thursdays. If you've missed any of the content that's already been out, it's all on our YouTube. And the other thing that we do on the channel is a one-shot adventure on the first Saturday of every month. Different systems, different GMs, different players, different stories. So we had a really good year last year. We had Alien, Troika, Morkborg, Fiasco, The Expanse, Honey Heist, The One Ring 2nd Edition, Dungeon World, Wander Home, and Dune, and Alien again, because it won our vote for which game should get a sequel. And the first game of this year was Cyberpunk, which our very own Sam, who was playing this evening, ran. That was on this Saturday just gone. And the next one will be the first Saturday in February. I think it's still to be decided what that's going to be. So do join us on Discord or socials to get that info. So let's introduce the cast for the evening. Let's bring on Justin, who plays Fulgur. Hi, Justin.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Good. So you play Fulgur the Knight.
Probably, hopefully. I hope so. I don't want to die.
You have previously played Fulgur the Knight.
I mean, I really hope it goes well.
So the group each got 20 XP, which in this system is not loads, but is purposefully not loads. So to increase kind of stat by 1 is 10 XP. So there are other things that you can spend them on as well. But yeah, let us know what you spent your XP on.
I did 2 stat increases. So I boosted my defense. So I have marginally more defense and marginally more speed, which I think will do little, if I'm honest, to help. I think that I think really it's not enough.
The combat is quite grim, isn't it? In this game.
I mean, yeah. I if you want to, there are previous videos that go over my dissatisfaction with my character's combat abilities, but you know they're not dead yet, so something's happening that's not completely wrong.
And if you haven't watched the first season of Shadows, you can get away with watching them separately, but I would recommend at least watching the last episode to see Fulgur's heroic stand, because it really was quite something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's do that. I mean, do that. Heroic, too kind. Really, too kind. And so this time, not dying. That's the plan.
It's worked so far, just.
I mean,
Um,
just about.
let's bring Inga on, who plays Sophia the Varigol. Hi, Inga.
Hiya.
Tell us about how you have used your XP.
All in combat, close combat. Volga put up a good fight. I think heroic for sure. Sophia was a bit more useless, I think. She was not that experienced in fighting before the start of the journey last time around, but the experiences last time definitely built towards that a little bit. So that's where it's all gone. It's all gone in combat.
I'm sure that viewers will be noticing a theme that the the players have kind of had a couple of combats and gone, oh dear. It's quite bleak.
There you are. So close. Yeah.
Cool. Let's bring on Steve, who plays Ragnall the Hunter. Hi, Steve.
Hi there.
Let us know how you've used your 20 XP.
Yeah, well, so I've put them into something that isn't necessarily combat related. I've improved my throwing skill. Obviously, that is also goes for shooting, but that's just totally coincidental. So yeah, and defense. So
nice. And we'll bring on Sam, who plays Fionn, the Demorthan Mystic. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
I've probably accidentally put the person with the most the most things to talk about to come on last, which is fortuitous.
Deliberate, Jonny. Everything the GM does is deliberate.
Yeah,
right?
it's all deliberate. Yeah.
I don't know. What you
tell
guys
us
are
about
talking
what you've spent points on for Fionn.
I don't know what everyone else is talking about. Combat's fine. Didn't take any damage at all. It's easy. Fionn is a tactical fellow who, knowing his limitations, tends to avoid being in the thick of things. And so I put my 20 points that I got from that into leveling up relation and craft, because getting skill level ups is useful. I also had 5 points left over from my character creation, kind of because I'd saved because I wanted an Ogham and we didn't have it in story, and it cost 5 points to get an Ogham stone. So I think the kind of story thing we're going for was maybe that Waylon helped me find this stone in the river nearby. And the book has, so the Oghams are basically like powers of nature that the Demorthan can kind of command using their spiritual connection, basically their spiritual force, which is called Rindath. I have 10 starting Rindath to spend, which kind of is regenerated by sleeping, etc. And they're separated into like different, like broad categories like water, air, earth, fire, life, vegetal. I think that's it. Or like the other one's animal, which would be life, I think. And I went for water, and I kind of went for a halfway house one with the water because it encourages you to make up your own one. So I did. And the one I went for is basically like water of life. So the idea is I'm kind of manipulating water in the bodies of living creatures, and I can do damage and healing, but less than the base damage of the thing. So I'm doing half damage rounded up or half healing rounded up. So it's like lost a bit of like the power of it for gained a bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. The air, water, vegetal, life, animal, fire, and earth.
Yeah. I was tempted by the earth one. Some of them look really fun, but I wanted to make it. Water just seems so thematic, you know.
Yeah, especially after the entire of the last.
There's
cool.
one in the water one which is literally cleansing poison, and I was like, should I take that?
That's why you couldn't have one at the start. It'd have all been far too easy.
Can you imagine if I'd happened to have chosen that one, and then you're like, and the title of this story is Poison? I'm like.
So just a quick recap of the last adventure. The group arrived at Melwan, they'd previously been at Melwan and been sent out to get herbs to help with this mysterious sickness that was taking over the village. They had then been sent off to investigate by the village council and then the Lady MacLear, whose husband had died as a result of this and whose son was ill with it. They then basically worked their way upriver due to some clues to do with mining to the mines, and it turned out that a Magiantist had been investigating there, and some fossil flux, or as the Demorthan know it, I've forgotten the name.
Nimhile.
Nimhile.
I literally
Yes,
looked it up beforehand,
which translates to poison, doesn't it? Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
And
not
yeah. The group noticed that basically the opening that it was coming out of was kind of beginning to crystallize with the Nimhile, and they realized would eventually seal itself over. Then ended up in a fight with the Magiantist and his lackeys. Then at the last moment, when things were going quite badly, some quite horribly mutated lizards appeared and took out the remaining baddies. The group left the mines, made their way back to the village, and then an ill miner who had been splashed quite badly in the face by this bursting Nimhal vein had apparently gone mad and started attacking people in the village, and he was lying in the village square, having been peppered with arrows. And the group then noticed that his eyes resembled eyes that two of them had seen in a dream, or maybe a vision. They're not really sure. Although I think Fulgur still denies that ever happened.
I think that would be most sacrilegious to have that.
So, some time has passed. Can you all make a luck roll for me, please? Which is a D10. And then if you have anything that affects luck, any skills or anything like that affect luck, then add that. Otherwise, just give me your D10 number.
Where I'd be looking
Skills
for
in the game that affect luck.
Yes. Not a rabbit's foot that you carry around your neck in
Not
real
lucky
life,
today.
Justin.
Yeah, 10, first roll of the game.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
Is
lucky,
high
but-
good or bad in this game?
yeah I was going to say it's either great or awful.
I rolled a 3.
And Sam, you rolled a 2.
2, yeah. Not so lucky.
Okay. Theon. Sinister groans awaken Theon as you lie on the Red Lake shore not far from Durg. You suddenly emerge from unconsciousness, screaming. Your mind is still misty with nightmarish pictures in which you see yourself running in a desolated land. You know that you're seriously injured, and you kind of draw to memory that you've gone through a vaguely half comatose state before recovering full consciousness. A big scratch, more spectacular than serious, scars your face. You also have a huge and painful bruise above your right ear and several cuts that look like dagger wounds. Finally, you bear the mark of 2 bites, which seem to have been caused by wolves or dogs. What weapon does Theon have, Sam?
A dagger and a bow.
Okay. You wake up with your dagger in your hand, covered with blood, and a corpse beside you. Wolves have begun to devour the corpse, to the groans that you heard when you woke up, but they carefully withdrew when you screamed. The corpse also has wounds, which look to have been caused by your weapon, as well as bites. The first impression to you is clear, that you have killed this other person who, your memory is blurry. Your last reminiscence dates back to several days ago, and nothing can explain the present situation. You do know that this body lying next to you is Angus, the grandson of Zaig, who is the second-hand goods dealer in town. As you kind of bring yourself around, you realize that in your current injured state, you would probably do well to return to the village. However, you're also aware that you might be in for a slightly chilly reception.
So what's the last thing that I remember?
Just being in the village, having travelled from Melwan, nothing that could possibly explain the situation that you now find yourself in.
Okay, and it's nighttime now, right? Did you say? Yeah, I think you said
no.
it was dark to me. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's evening. Yeah.
Evening, okay. Do I remember it being daytime? Like, I'm trying to think. Theon's first thing would be how long has passed since I last remember, I think.
You yeah, I think you last remember kind of wandering around during the day.
Okay, so it's not very clear sometime during the day, presumably the same day. I don't remember anything happening that was like, oh, someone's jumping out at me and now I remember this. Nothing at all.
No.
Okay. I think Theon's probably first reaction is just to kind of stare at the body in his hands for a while, because I don't think he's ever killed anyone before. So that's kind of a shocking realization. Then his second reaction would be to call out for Morag, the raven. Is she there? She might not be. It's up to you.
She is not.
I think that stirs Theon more than the corpse in front of him, and he calls out kind of desperately for a little while, perhaps. And presumably, no, there is no sound of a crow.
No. Also worth noting that the wolves are staying away from you currently, but are sort of looking in this direction. You would presume that they would quite like to continue their meal.
Okay. Well, assuming the wolves are there, then I'll try and... I guess I would have a really quick glance at the body, but probably not, pick over, see if there's anything I recognize about... If there's anything that jogs memory about him, but if nothing does. Also, does he have a weapon on him?
He does not.
Okay, so the dagger wounds. Then I will crawl away to somewhere, not like straight to the village, just to somewhere away from the body. Presumably the wolves aren't going to follow me.
If you start to move away, they will move towards Angus's corpse.
Okay, cool.
Rather than you. Because it's the path of least resistance.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. As long as they don't follow me, I'm not dashing away then in panic. Do I remember these other folks or anyone else I knew fairly well in Derg, being in Derg with me before this point?
You remember Angus, and you had met the second-hand dealer as well, who, is his grandparent. But you don't. There's nothing that springs to mind that there was no. You don't remember a bad feeling towards this person or anything like that.
When was the last time I saw these folks or anyone else I was close with, like potentially, like the group?
Oh, sorry, the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. In your last memory, you are wandering through the village with them.
Okay, so I think they should still be in the village. Got it. Because I think
Yeah.
if they weren't there, then I might not head into the village given this context. But knowing that they are there, I will head down there. I'm obviously covered in blood anyway, and I'm kind of. How badly wounded am I? Do I have a stat number of wound, or is that something not to consider right now?
Yes.
Okay.
You are in the critical health condition.
Okay, if I'm in critical, I might use some magic on myself then. Can I use my Algum?
Yes.
Seems like a good time to do so.
So do as an explanation of
Yeah.
this role, Sam, for Theon.
So the stone itself kind of acts as like a focus, I think. So I think the idea, if you use your like Rindath without an Algum, it would like tear you apart. So the stone itself is like a resilient thing to hold that power within you. So the Rindath that I'm like drawing on my own power and like through nature kind of. So I'm kind of in this circumstance, I guess because it's water, I'm focusing upon my own kind of life function and life force through the like things moving and my literally living within my own body, trying to kind of renew that and encourage it to heal more faster than would ever occur without certainly the impact of any Rindath.
Yeah.
Is it worth bringing your character sheet up and?
Yeah, let's put a character sheet on and we can show
Sure.
the Rindath and.
So this is for my character, but
I don't have my one. Sorry.
it'll illustrate like the health conditions and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the way that the Rindath and the powers work is there are 6 circles, which are sort of the strength of the things. So if you roll for the first circle, it's the lowest difficulty threshold, which is an 11. So you have to beat an 11 in order to use its effect. So Sam would roll a d10 and then add on Sigil Ran, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I had Sigil Ran and obviously the Demorthan Mystic basic for that.
Yes.
As well. I'm not sure if I should try and go for a higher level one. But the thing is, it's only 1d10 until I get to level 3, which then uses all of my Rindath. But I am pretty badly injured, so maybe I'll just go for the big one.
It's up to you. It makes it a more difficult roll. That's the only thing.
But unless I roll a 1, I don't spend the Rindath. So
that's true.
So I'm on. How much do I have for that? I have 11 base, so it's a pretty good shot.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna try for the level 3, the difficult one. 17 is the target, and it would give me 2d10 halved.
So what's your? So how do you build up your Demorthan Mystic score? Then?
I have
that's going to be
5 empathy, 5 in Demorthan Mystic, and a 1 bonus for Sigil Ran.
right.
So 11.
So
total.
this is this sort of section here.
Yeah. Demorthan Mystic section. Yes, did it.
Cool.
So that rolled 18 in total.
Great. Yeah. So if you do 2d10 and then half it.
Yep. That's a bit better. 8. That's okay. So I can get 4 back.
Cool.
Okay, so that presumably takes me out of critical, which is good.
Yeah. Great.
So yeah. So in terms of the health things on the right hand side, so every time you take a point of damage, you fill in one of these circles over here. So Sam, you were down in critical. So that would be
Beginning critical. You happy with that, Jonny? Or do you want to go a bit further into critical?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, we'll do beginning. Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Okay, so that puts me into full in okay now because I don't have one of my bad boxes because I'm a sickly person.
Cool. Okay. So that just means that every roll you make is a -1 then.
-1. I was kind of a convenient thing in that moment, actually. Yeah. So I'm feeling a bit better after that.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously still bloodied and like messed up and have jagged holes in my clothing and I'm looking worse for wear. So I'm going to kind of stagger down to the village. Is there somewhere we were all staying?
Yes, you were just staying in an inn in town. But actually, as you head back towards the village, you hear the cry of a cry of Morag,
Okay.
and you see the rest of the group coming towards you.
Okay.
So Sophia, Ragnall, and Fulgur, you have been sent by. Well, you've been informed of the fact that Fionn is missing, as well as Angus being missing by the village council, and you have been sent off to try and locate them. At which point, as you are kind of searching around, Morag has found you and sort of brought you to Fionn's location. So you initially would just see Fionn. I think he's probably moved far enough away that you would probably notice wolves. You wouldn't necessarily see the body by the lakeside.
As you get closer to me, you will definitely notice my state of quite bad injury, although not as bad as originally. And there's definitely a look of relief on my face to see you coming out of the village rather than an angry mob of people.
Goodness, Fionn, you look a mess.
I'll probably like show the dagger to you, like with blood on it, and go, "Don't know what happened." The boy, the merchant's boy. Was it merchant? Sorry, Jonny. Merchant.
The second-hand goods seller, yeah.
Yeah. The merchant's boy. He's.
Did the
He's out
wolves
there.
get him?
I don't know. You should come see. I guess I'll turn around, hobbling a bit.
Well, I think I'll have my my bow readied, and we'll sort of stare at you, because I don't think I've ever seen you covered in blood. Maybe once when it was mine. But
Then
Yeah.
let's go. Let's advance with.
I'll just turn around and walk fairly slowly back up the hill in that direction then.
Yeah, so you approach the lakeside. And yeah, you see the scene as it is. A now sort of much more torn apart body than previous. But you all recognize it as Angus, the second-hand goods dealers.
Presumably the wolves back
grandson.
off as we arrive.
They do as you're approaching. Yeah, they kind of snarl a bit and then back away.
So is this like normal wolf behavior? Would we expect them to just I mean, I'm wondering whether I should be asking Fionn like how he got away from wolves that have attacked them enough that Angus is, and are they backing off now that we get closer as well? Like, is that it strikes me, Inga, as unusual, but I don't know if it would strike Sophia as unusual.
I think a group of 4 people they would probably back off from in the wild. Whether they would back off from me waking up already injured, yeah. But I did shout, I
How
guess.
many
so-
wolves are there?
There are 2.
Well,
Yeah,
2 versus
exactly.
4, you know. 3.5.
I suppose as we walk up next to the body, Fionn will just go, I woke up just next to him there. I don't remember anything since, I don't know, earlier today.
Probably took a bump to the head as you fell. Those
amazing that you
wolves
managed
really
to
did a
get it.
number on him.
Yeah. Are you still hurt? Did they got you as well? You don't remember? You fell.
Yes, I think I'll be okay. Look though, and then I kind of like just move my like arm on my shoulder to reveal like a wound that definitely isn't wolf bite.
Someone else was here? Did someone attack you?
Don't remember. I don't remember anything. And look,
What you would all know is that you haven't seen Fionn since yesterday evening.
Well, what do you know? What was the last thing that you remember?
John, I mean, just wandering around in town.
Yeah, literally just kind of wandering around, looking at what things were for sale,
Yeah.
eating and drinking.
Sometime in the middle
Yeah.
of the day, and I was with these folks at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we
So I'll say that.
remember anything different? Like, do we remember anything that would, like Fionn saying he's off to bed or something? You know.
I guess I would describe that and see, because it's probably not very clear what I remember. So I'll just say, oh, it was earlier today. I was in town with you. We had a drink. It was the middle of the day. I can't remember anything clearly after that.
Yeah, so that was actually about 30 hours ago. You would all be aware.
But I don't know that.
Yeah.
You're muted, Justin.
Gosh darn it. Anyway, Ragnar, would you help me lift Angus back to town? Fionn, Sophia, maybe look around to see if there's any clues as to what might have happened.
Well, something wrong with your memory, at least. That we've not seen you in more than a day. That wasn't today we were back in Derg.
My
was
God.
yesterday.
Sorry, not my God, probably. I don't know what happened. I really can't remember a thing.
And what can we see of the looking at the body? Did you point out the knife wounds? Or
Yeah, I think I vaguely did, like, point to those as well,
Okay.
like when I pointed out my own wounds. But I haven't said anything because the implication is somewhat scary for me too.
Okay, well, I guess I'll be looking around at the body, and maybe I'll notice stuff. Maybe I won't. Would that be a perception?
Yeah. You have do you have a bonus to a visible thing, don't you, Steve? Or is
I
yours
do,
the listening
yes.
one? Yeah.
Both.
Ah,
Can I
Jonny,
also have a look specifically for tracking if there's any signs of any other people who've maybe gone?
yeah. Do you want to give me is there a whatever your sort of perception-y, have you got a tracking kind
Perception.
Natural environment survival.
Oh, that would do. If that's better than your perception, then use that.
It is, yeah.
So I rolled a 12 for my perception.
Okay. It to you, as an analysis of this scene, it looks like what it first looked like to Fionn, which is that Fionn has stabbed this person potentially to death, and then these wolves, as Fionn has also been injured, so perhaps they attacked each other for whatever reason. Fionn has obviously come off slightly better, and the wolves have then spotted food.
Well, I guess I'll stare at the body for a bit, and then I will turn to look at Fionn.
I think by this point I'm like slumped by a tree, looking closer at my wounds and maybe getting out some like clean bandages or something, and looking rather sorry for myself.
I'll walk over and in our native tongue, Osag tongue, the wounds on that boy.
Yes, I know. I don't remember anything though, but that's the only conclusion I can draw. How I could do that with no memory.
Do you think is it related to the Nimheil? Have you been?
Doesn't seem like anything I know of. It doesn't seem like what we experienced before. I'm
Have you?
quite scared of what's happened, honestly.
It's not like you.
No.
Well, this is complex. What should we do? Should I tell the others?
I think they'll probably all figure it out anyway, so yes, I suppose. I kind of lay my head back against the kind of dead tree that I'm leaning against, perhaps, just like eyes closed, sort of not sure what to do.
I'll go back to the others then, I guess, and kind of. There's no one around, but I'll still sort of gather you together, I think, and in a hushed voice, say, "The boy has knife wounds, and they seem to come from Fion's dagger. It wasn't just wolves."
What do you mean, Fion's dagger? The knife? Surely that means somebody else has attacked them, and they both went down.
Doesn't sound like Fion.
No. Jonny, did I see anything? If I rolled a 10. It was 10 total, but I rolled a natural 1 on the dice. I can't remember if that does something.
Oh, you need to roll another d10, and if you get a 1, then it's a critical fail, basically.
No, a 9 this time.
I mean, honestly, it was going to have no effect if you. But no, you don't spot anything. As much as this lake is not massively tidal, where Fion and Angus were sort of coming up to them had become quite wet sand. So, potentially you're just aware that there is the possibility that something was there that is now not. But there is nothing to say that there was.
So if somebody attacked you, they could have got away, and we'd never see their tracks. That it's much more likely that somebody attacked you, Fion.
That would seem logical, I suppose. I just don't remember anything, though. I don't know what to think.
I mean, it's a miracle that you survived. Be grateful that you have your life.
Have you searched the body?
No.
Perhaps we should. I don't.
Did you have any? Are you injured at all, Fion?
Yeah, I've already shown you my injuries.
But are your injuries bites or?
I specifically showed the knife wound first before you looked at, so I made the point that I've been stabbed as well.
Well, unless you've been stabbing yourself, then still it doesn't look great.
You're right, actually. That's true. There is no other knife, is there? Unless we wrestled for this one. That makes me feel a little better. Thank you.
At the very least, we should check if there's something of Angus's we can take back to his family. I don't know, does he have any
start off with his body?
I mean, I don't know how. Sorry, Jonny. What does the body look like? Is it pretty wrecked at the moment?
The torso has been. I mean, there were a lot of stab wounds anyway, and the wolves have taken some relatively sizable chunks out of the torso. You could potentially, if you wanted to put one of yours' outer layer around the body, the majority of the rest of it doesn't, there are blood splatters on everything, but you could sort of disguise the main injuries with an extra layer.
We can take the body back, Fulgur, but I think if his family they don't want to see him like this, if there's anything else we can just give them. And yeah, Jonny, can we have a look to see if there's anything, any markers like that would look like they're sort of uniquely his, anything he'd have on him?
He has a wooden ring on one of his fingers.
Yeah, I might slip that off and give the family separately.
Yeah.
A couple of things I think Fion's thinking while slumped there, Jonny. How big was this guy? Was he because I'm quite weak and weenie. I'm just if he's like a big guy, I'd be like, there's no way I did this.
He's sort of late teens.
Okay.
And he's not particularly bulky.
Okay, so it's possible we could have had a fight and I could have won. It's not like that would be out of realms of possibility. It's not like it's Fulgur or something, or Ragnar.
No.
Okay, Cool. Okay. The other thing, given that they've told me that it's been like over a day, am I like hungry or thirsty? Do I feel like my mouth feel dry and parched? Or
Your mouth has felt dry since you woke up, but you were unsure whether it was thirst or an effect of what you were witnessing and kind of processing.
difficult to tell.
Now you think you probably are thirsty. Your stomach is turning in knots, and you're not
Can't
thinking about food.
Yeah.
But
That's a
yet
very
you're
good
pretty
answer.
certain now that you think about it that you're thirsty.
Okay, cool. I think maybe. Wait, you said the lake was kind of tidal, so that would mean it was salty. So I'll have a drink from my, what do you call them?
Canteen.
Water skin.
Yeah, water. Thank you, water skin was there. I'll have a drink from my water. Presumably, I have my stuff on me. I didn't ask that. To be fair, am I missing like a load of stuff, or do I still have a pack of things?
You don't have your pack with you. You would probably have anything that would be attached to your
Belt.
sort
So
of person.
Water skin is there. Okay. So it seems like
Yeah.
maybe my pack got left somewhere. I wasn't like getting ready to go out, but I had my things I walk with all the time. Okay. Maybe I'll voice up then. I'll say, do you know where my pack is? Maybe just still at where we were staying.
If any of you had been to Fion's room, you would you have been sharing, do you think, Fion and Ragnar?
Possibly, yeah. We're pretty close.
So yes, the Fion's pack is still there.
Yes, it's back in our room.
Good. It doesn't look like anything was stolen. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Whether it's. I have no idea how long it's been since I've been aware or not. I wouldn't even have known it was more than a day, to be honest, as you told me.
Well, if there's nothing more to see around here, then we should get back.
Do you think we should leave the body to be devoured?
No. I think that if we do anything else, we're only going to increase the amount of suspicion around you, Fion.
I agree. I think truth is probably the best approach here, as unlikely as it may seem.
I don't know what you're worried about, Fion. You're obviously, you were attacked, and you unfortunately Angus didn't make it, but it's a miracle that you did. Why would you say anything else?
Sophia, wait, we're all strangers in this land. I feel like waking up dead next to a young member of the village, waking up next to a dead young member of the village, and your excuses, you have no idea what happened for 2 days, doesn't seem very trustworthy to me.
There's a question. Do we know how long Angus had been missing? Same length of time, or?
Angus is certainly, roughly, yes. Yeah.
And when Angus went missing, and we were told about that, was there any other kind of indication about people thinking he might have gone to do X or Y, or was there anything in particular that? Yeah.
No, so basically, from your perspective, a couple of the village council members came to you, and sort of noticed that Fion wasn't with you, and also pointed out that that Angus was missing. So that was yesterday morning. No, this morning for you. But no kind of idea from that conversation about anywhere that they expected that Angus might be. You would imagine that they had probably checked expected places themselves before kind of speaking to you about it.
And we'd not had any particular dealings with Angus prior to?
Nope.
Right. I think Ragnar will be sort of surveying the looking around, turning around and sort of surveying the landscape, just trying to see whether there are any landmarks or any places of significance? Like, why here? Is there anything that might be significant about the location?
So where you are, obviously there's the lake, and then sort of mountainous areas again that you've passed through a pass from the village. There is nothing obvious at a glance that is really anything of note to you.
What about things that are maybe a bit more mundane, like anything that looks like fancy herbs that Fionn might have been coming out to look for? Things are not like landmark kind of significant things, but would be significant maybe to somebody like Fionn.
No, it's all just sort of reedy and bushes. Again, nothing that jumps out at you as something that would be of interest to Fionn.
Okay. I assume we're sort of heading back to the village for now.
I think if you're like turning to go, you'll notice Fionn is just kind of crouched by the side of the tree, head in hands, maybe retching a little bit.
I might give Ragnar a look, like to Fionn, slightly helplessly.
Well, yeah, walk over slowly and sort of, I guess, just stand with you. I'm there if you want a hand or a shoulder or something. And
yeah, I think Fionn will happily let you support him down to the village, although he doesn't technically need it. I think it's more of an emotional shock thing. He was fine until everyone else arrived, and then he came back up, and now it's all kind of caught up with him,
I'll help Fulgur wrap up the body and presumably start carrying it.
Yeah.
Okay. You at the first sight of somebody from the village, there are shocked gasps in your direction as you work your way through. Fionn, obviously, covered in blood, and the body that most people will be able to guess, if not recognize at first glance. Are you making your way towards the village council building meeting place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless anybody suggests somewhere different.
I mean, someone might want to go and grab the family. Zaig.
You will pass her shop.
It may be better to go to the council, let them deal with this there. Someone from the council can fetch the family.
Assume Fionn is bowed head, quite quiet, probably not really saying or doing anything for a while.
Yeah, I think heading to the council first might be. Well, certainly Ragnar doesn't have any skill with breaking this sort of news. So
who is carrying Angus?
I think that was me.
Yeah, well, Sophia was helping. If that makes, unless you particularly want over the shoulder or something.
It wasn't the plan.
No.
Can you make a luck roll as you pass the second-hand goods store?
I'll let you roll.
Cool. Roll a 10.
Oh, roll again.
Roll another 10.
Oh. Yes. You get past the store, and if you are checking in the direction of the store, you note that Zaig is kind of kneeling down, dealing with some stuff, kind of facing away from the front window. So you manage to pass unseen.
I don't feel good about it, but I don't say that. But it's clear on my face.
You reach the village council building. And the door is open. And you can see that seated at a table at the back are the 4 people that you know as the members of the village council, or at least that Ragnar, Fulgur, and Sophia do. Fionn wouldn't necessarily know. So there is Anselir Maorn, who is the head of the council. There is the Demorthen Logue. There is the Demather Glen. Demathers are like the teachers. And Meog Elarig, who you know to be the kind of owner of Durg's mines. They are sort of the 4 key members of the council. And as you reach the door, Anselir kind of stands with a shocked look on his face and says to a couple of people near the door, "Take him." And for a second, you're unsure who they mean, and then they grab Fionn and kind of pull him forward to in front of the table.
What is the like, if there was going to be any kind of, if I wanted to protest against Fionn being seized, like, you know, what my character know about, you know, what we'd be up against, you know, like, is it, we're talking armed pitchforks, or is there any kind of?
I mean, presumably they're taking me from Ragnar, which is a bit.
Yeah, they're not really sort of manhandling you. They're more sort of, they're quickly moving you to in front of the council, but they're not shoving you. You know, I imagine that Fionn would be relatively pliable in this current situation to just kind of being led by these people.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless it seems like they're being at all violent or unpleasant about it, I think I would specifically have my hand out to be like, it's okay, let them do this thing. Fine.
Well, I just don't want. I know Fionn might be pliable, but is Fulgur willing to see his friend be dealt with by village?
I'm not
justice,
telling you what to think.
You know?
You notice more and more people begin to filter into the room, and then you hear just a wail from the street outside, and you feel the sort of, anybody apart from Fionn, if the rest of you are kind of in with the crowd vaguely, you feel a sort of shoving as somebody pushes their way through, and you see Zaig appear, Angus's grandmother. What, Justin, Fulgur, would you have done anything with Angus's body unless
I think
somebody had
it's wrapped up. So like that's basically where we're at with it. But in terms of no, and otherwise, there's like, you know, we didn't. I think Fulgur would have thought that the side of a lake shore wasn't the right place to be doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So one of the people who had moved Fionn forward comes and takes Angus's body from you. If it's wrapped, and kind of lays it on the ground behind the council table. So out of the eye line of the general people within the room. And Zaig runs to behind the table and weeps,
Can I
kind
just
of
follow?
rocking and sobbing.
Sorry, can I just follow and like sort of try and place the ring, like just on the body, kind of over the wrappings, or if she's amenable, like into her hands or something.
Yeah, she takes it from you and kind of grasps it within her hands, and then is still sort of like this, rocking over the body. She says some prayers under her breath that Fulga, you recognize as being from the temple. And Ancelair says, "Explain yourself."
Presumably addressed at me.
Yeah.
I think Fionn will have a good 20 or 30 seconds of composing, assuming there's just a wait and no one interrupts me to say anything more.
Pin drops silence apart from the sort of sniffling of Zaig behind the table.
And then quietly, to the extent that probably only the council and people nearby can hear, probably these folks, and not the crowd, unless they might squash in, I don't know. We'll just say, I just only half an hour ago woke up by the side of the lake up there. The last thing I remembered before waking was being here in the village with my friends. Upon talking to them, I realized that was more than a day ago. I did not know any of this or that it had been gone that long. When waking, I saw the boy next to me dead. This knife was in my hands, my knife. Both me and him were wounded by knives and bites of wolves that were still stalking nearby. I had some of my possessions. Nothing had been stolen. There was no signs of anyone else there. I remembered nothing else of that time in between. I have no reason to believe that I would ever have killed him. I had no ill feelings or really any knowledge of the boy before this point, but I have no explanation as to what's happened to me or why I have no memory of this time. I found my fellows here when I head back down to the village, and we came back up to see if we could find anything more out about this circumstance. Then returned, as you see us now.
There were a few seconds of silence. And then a rabble of voices, the majority of which are shouting that you're guilty. But you hear amidst that, in fact, make me perception rolls, and you listen bonus if you have one. Ragnar has a listen bonus.
Well, I rolled a 10 plus 6. Yes.
Okay.
16.
Sam, you muted.
My apologies. I was looking at my character sheet as well, so it took even longer. I rolled a 10 plus 8, so I've got 20 something in total.
Right. Anyone else
rolling?
You don't have to.
No.
Focus is not going to bother.
But I roll. I got a 10 overall.
Same.
Fulga never notices anything.
Fulga's distracted by a squirrel in the distance.
So Ragnar and Fionn hear numerous things from people shouting about Fiondas to a name that you recognize. One person positing that maybe it's Firmin making sacrifices for his god. So Firmin was the priest, the kind of monk that you met at the beginning of the last adventure at the chapel. You hear a mention of maybe it was the Hilderin Knights, and the Hilderin Knights are basically a group who are looking after a sort of fortress nearby, which is it's the one sort of pass through to Gwydra from where you are.
Do we need a map? Shall I?
Yeah, if you got it, yeah.
We haven't
That'd
had
be
one
great.
yet, have we? Yeah.
Zoom in a bit.
Mhm.
Is
We're near Melbourne, aren't we?
It's kind of
Where-
north.
Yeah, up.
Yeah, it's on the border, isn't it, between the two kingdoms?
Yeah.
So
Let's
Derg
not
is near
be
Melbourne.
too
Uh,
hasty. Before we start accusing knights, Theon might have done it.
Poor guy, immediately switching sides.
Yeah, I believe it's at number 4. I think that's where the fortress is that they're stationed at. But you have heard in your sort of few hours or couple of days in the village, you have heard people complain about these knights being corrupt already. And one person mentions maybe it was the beast of the lake. And then people around them sort of go, ah, and sort of hit them as if they're being ridiculous.
While all this was going on, I think Theon, while eyes mostly downcast, was curiously kind of sneaking a look at the Demorthen to see what their expression was when I'd kind of been telling the story.
Whose expressions were? Sorry, Sam.
The Demorthen specifically of the council, who I don't really know, I think, but
relatively.
We've met Logue before because we got
Okay.
herbs off.
oh yeah, we got herbs off them,
Yes.
so maybe I do know them actually. Yeah, true.
Yeah, relatively steady. At the point that someone suggests Firmin, you see maybe a little sort of glimmer of something. Not enough to make you think that that it's, you know, that it is Firmin and that that Logue thinks it is Firmin. But there is something there, maybe a bit of a dislike or something at the mention of the name. Yeah, there we are.
Is it possible to make a kind of more composed kind of argument, trying to kind of cool tempers and with a relations role, basically just saying, you know, Theon's not made any efforts to run. He's a fully trained Demorthen, fully capable of escaping into the wilderness if he wanted to.
Also,
And-
Demorthen
Yeah,
have
give me
sway
a-
by themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of
Give
just
me
more
a
like
relation
a, you
roll.
know, yeah. Right. Let's hope it goes well.
Oh god, don't roll a one.
I
Yeah,
rolled 14.
Okay. Yeah, you managed to quiet the rabble. And you see Ancillere sort of raise one eyebrow as you say what he's saying, and you kind of cut through the noise. And he says, you make a valid point. Logue, what do you think? He is a Demorthen like you. Logue kind of leans back a little. I think the very least that we should do is allow some form of investigation to take place. If Theon claims that he has no memory of this, then that is not a confession. You three, don't take this to mean that if it turns out that Theon is guilty, that we will implicate you in any way, but would you vouch for Theon's good nature?
Of course we would.
Yes. Yes.
He's a timid creature.
Look, you can see he's been attacked as well himself. This is, I mean, fully support an investigation. We need to know what happened to our friend. I'm sure
I've
Theon, you
literally
want to know what's
never
happened.
seen him lift a weapon.
All he's ever done is heal us.
Ancillary kind of looks to the other two at the table as well, and they sort of gesture their deferral to Logue, and Ancillary looks out and says, "Very well, Theon. You have 3 days to investigate and try to prove your innocence. The other 3 of you are to help him and keep an eye on him."
Of course.
And should we not turn up an explanation in those 3 days?
Then the next meeting may not go as well for you.
Understand. I confess I probably want to know the truth of this more than you do. I have lost a day and a half of my life in this, and some terrible things have clearly happened in that time.
Very well. The rest of you, out. And you hear a bit of a from some members of the crowd. And they head out of the door. And you are left alone in here now with the council members and Zaig, who is still crouched over the body of Angus behind the council table.
Zaig hasn't made any particular statements of, he's guilty or maybe not or anything like that, or any particular attention towards me. Okay.
No. She's entirely just sort of focused on the body of Angus.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just to get to business. Have any of you any advice on where to start? Is there anyone who Angus had been quarrelling with, or any suspicions you might have had around Angus's disappearance that could help us get started on this?
Are you asking the council? Sorry.
I'm asking the room, but so Zaig, feel free to pipe up. That's basically I'm asking the council. But if Zaig had anything to add, then I certainly would be happy to hear it.
The council members all kind of look like they have no idea, and Zaig says, he was a lovely young man, kind and generous and good. So if your idea is that somebody would want to do this to him, then I don't believe it.
That's a good start then.
Is there any reason he might have been in the forests in case it was a random, some the bandits or something? Can you think why he'd be out there?
I don't know. Young men play in the outdoors. She turns to Ancillere and says, Will someone... And he puts a hand on her shoulder and nods. And then she leaves.
Jonny, so what is our last memory of Theon? Like, if he remembers us sort of, just shopping around Derg a little bit, like, do we remember him just sort of disappearing? Do we remember sort of finishing up shopping, going back to the inn, and sort of
So
staying until the morning?
You'll have had a meal, and then sort of everybody really went off and did their own thing a little bit. It wasn't unusual for Theon to maybe go and meditate somewhere or something like that. So when Theon took himself off, he didn't particularly think anything of it. So yeah, maybe a little later than Theon currently remembers. You saw him. You have shared memories a bit later than he remembers.
I think especially since Theon's perhaps got that organ, he might actually be away meditating for quite long periods. So perhaps until even next morning, like you might not have thought it odd. And then when you still didn't see Theon for like breakfast the next morning, that was like, okay. Yeah.
Well, you didn't take a pack with you, Theon, so you obviously weren't planning to go anywhere, and you would have told us if you were planning a longer trip. It must have been something that either took you out there urgently or something that was expected to just be a short errand.
The fact that my memory is gone till so far back suggests so too. Something forced, I would say. Something out of my control.
Are you having this conversation around the council?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that we should ask about the memory loss and
Go ahead.
whether anyone knows. Is it Logue? Logue that's the Demorphin? Or
Yes, the Demorphin, yeah.
Yes, well, I would ask Logue, is there anything that could cause this period of memory loss? I'm unskilled in these things. I perhaps an injury or something else. Can you check?
He sort of looks at Theon and spots the bruise and says, a head injury could certainly account for some of that. And perhaps the presumed long period of unconsciousness, a possible long period of unconsciousness. That could also they could be linked from whatever has caused that large bruising.
And Jonny, when we arrived, and started, looking things over, was Angus's body still warm? Was the blood still kind of flowing? Did it seem like it was probably today, or is it possible that they were lying out there all night after having been attacked?
If you think you checked that at the time, then give me a roll.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would check specifically, but if we were bandaging him up, we'd have been handling the body a bit. So if there was anything, probably would have noticed.
So you can.
If it was warm or cold, kind of thing. But
yeah, I think you've probably just a perception roll, I guess.
11 total.
Okay. Yeah. It didn't feel warm.
Okay. Not sure what I want to do with that information just yet. just remembering.
I'm assuming I'm still like stood there in the front of the like council thing, basically.
If you've not moved yet.
Yeah, I think at this point I feel like I'm less under scrutiny and slightly exhausted. I'm just going to go and sit down somewhere slightly in the corner. Maybe just have some more water from my water skin.
So we where should we begin?
I mean, maybe I think that if it was someone from from not in the village, then they may well have made their way hastily away from the lake shore. We could do a larger search around the area, expand the net a bit, see if we can come across anything. But otherwise,
We should talk
for...
we should talk to perhaps people in the village as well. See whether anyone else saw them together, saw them heading off, and when.
We have limited time. I think while we're here, that sounds sensible right now. Is it Zaig? What was your grandson expected anywhere? When was he discovered missing? What did he not show up somewhere he was supposed to be? Where was he supposed to be?
Sorry, who are you asking, Inga?
Zaig, the grandmother.
Zaig's left.
Oh, she left.
Zaig disappeared. Yeah.
Oh, dope. I don't think I'd talk into the void like then. Maybe we should go back to Zaig and ask about what Angus was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do. I'm happy to talk to people. Whether we want to also search for the area while everything's still fresh.
The area being the lake, or the
lake, the woods around it. You know.
I didn't see anything when we were there. I tried to look if there were any tracks or anything, but I don't think there was really anything immediately obvious. I mean, we certainly should have a look, but maybe we'll get a better idea of the direction to go in. Certainly seem to be lots of accusations flying around. So maybe somebody has an idea about where someone outside the village we could talk to. Salir, have there been any other kind of attacks or any increased criminal activity out, or any dangerous areas outside the village?
Nothing apart from some of the Hilderin knights abusing their power. You see, if anybody's looking at Logue during this, Logue kind of gives a little sort of snarly mouth at the mention of them.
What do you mean? What kind of trouble have they been causing?
Just throwing their weight around. Basically acting like, well, almost like bandits, demanding tolls for passing bits of road that they have no control over and other such like. But they would have had to come through the village to be there, so it doesn't make any sense for it to do with them.
Do we know anything about them beyond having heard of them? Is there any knowledge that we have about?
I think Fulgo probably knows a little bit about them. Probably because a lot of the noble families go and spend time with the because there's a like military service kind of thing going on, isn't there? And a lot of that is done with the knights.
Yeah.
Not that Fulgur was one of them or anything, but it might have been an option. If you've misbehaved, Fulgur will send you to the knights. Something like that.
Yeah, so they're theoretically a force for good, but if these ones are sort of abusing their power, then they've maybe just got become slightly corrupt and but yeah, typically they're fine. And it may be that some of them are and others are not in this group, and the ones who are not are the ones who shout the loudest, as it were.
Ancilla, then, if Fionn hadn't been here, if it had just been Angus, and there was no other person to cast suspicions on, what would your instinct be? What is it? The knights you think would be behind this? Who would have? Or
An interesting question. As Zaig says, Angus was a much liked young man, and my instant presumption would be that it was someone from outside the village. I couldn't imagine a villager wishing to do this. We're in much the same situation now. But unfortunately, your friend Fionn here appears to be the most likely culprit at this moment in time.
well, I'm less convinced of that. But what about the family? Maybe it's not Angus specifically. Maybe there's some other argument or feud that he could have got caught up in just because he's so beloved. Maybe.
Perhaps somebody has taken issue with some goods that they've purchased from Zaig, but I would wait until at least the morning to speak to her. I'm aware that you are on a time limit, but I fear that any information that you get out of her now may be tinged with hurt.
And there's been no other trouble in the village recently?
None.
No strangers apart from us?
There are always strangers passing through, but none that I would regard as of note.
Who would, if we wanted to ask about who might have seen them leaving and times, then who's probably the best? Is there any kind of village lookout, or one of those people who seems to know everything, all the goings on in the village?
There is a village watch. I believe some of them may be out now, actually, given the time of day. You could ask them, or perhaps he kind of looks at Logue, and Logue looks at you all and says, "The weasel." And all four of the council kind of let out a little snorted laugh under their breath. And she says, "Harold, who, well, it's his job to raise the alarm to the dukedom's capital city. But we all think he might be in the pay of Argon, the Hilderin knight. Unlike Angus, he is not much loved in the village. But it may be worth speaking to him about the goings-on last night.
But what about anybody who might be able to corroborate if the Hildren Knights are involved and he's, buddied up with them?
As I say, some members of the Watch may have seen something as well. If the knights came through the village, I am sure that at least one of them would be aware.
And this herald is untrustworthy. I'm getting the impression.
In our opinion,
Lode, you scoffed at the idea of a creature of the lake. Although such stories are found in every village, has there been anything that would make people think there is a creature in the lake? Just appearances in the past?
What is this creature?
Stories that are told to children. Nothing in living memory, which is often the way to judge these things as to whether they're based in fact or entirely mythology.
But what is it?
Something that was said to take people into the lake. This doesn't even fit the description of the stories.
Has there been trouble with the wolves as well? Is it normal for the wolves to get so close to the village?
What do you mean?
Fionn, there were wolves by the two of them, and look, you can see the bite marks.
They will sometimes come out of the woods to the edge of the lake. I wouldn't expect them closer to the village than that.
I don't think there was anything unusual about the wolves' behavior.
Is there anything else unusual, that strange that it might be, could potentially be related to any of this? Anything else? Any other road we should explore? Any other people we should speak to?
Other than us, Zaig, unless you get any more information from any of these people, this is the only thing that I can think of, certainly as a way towards finding out what's happened.
Is there a way of testing for poisons or drugs that might have affected Fionn or Angus? Are there things that you can check?
Logue says, "You think this is like Melwan?"
We've seen some strange things.
It doesn't seem like Melwan, but you're right. There must be some herbs or poisons or something that could affect the memory, or that maybe rendered you unconscious, so that somebody could drag you out into the woods. Is there anything like that we could test for? We certainly didn't see any of the strange things that we saw in Melwan. I don't think we're dealing with that.
In either case, Fion still needs some healing.
Yes. I can prepare some herbs which will elicit certain responses from the body if they come into contact with certain substances. It may not be pleasant for Fion, I'm afraid.
I think Fiona is now slumped off chair and is lying down, listening to the conversation.
Well, anything that could help.
Certainly, I'll prepare those for the morning.
It's late. We should be getting on with our looking around our searches.
Fulgo, do you want to speak to the watch, perhaps?
Sure. Well, I think I'll make for the door.
I'll follow along if there's nothing else to be said.
Should we also speak to this Harold person?
We should. I'm not sure what to say. Do you have an idea of how to? Perhaps we might get some information from the watch about Harold's behaviour. Perhaps that might provide.
Yeah. Fion, do you need to rest? Do you need to also maybe stay with Logue to look at these herbs, or what do you need?
I will come with you. I want to find out what we can.
I mean, in all honesty, Fion, perhaps the first thing you should do is wash yourself of all that blood before
Yes.
you go around trying to interrogate half the village.
Yes, you're right. I'll go up to our room and clean up, I suppose. I'll do that instead.
Take all the time you
Yeah.
need.
Yikes.
I was looking at my character sheet and thinking, does Fion want to come out and investigate? And I was like, I got into okay, so yes.
Man's crazy. Waking up after all that and immediately getting back on his feet. Anyway, let's find Smitty's watch.
Are you all going to speak to a watch person?
Well, I'm off to clean my stuff up first, but planning on hurrying with that.
Should somebody go with Fion in case some of the villagers decide to take justice
That's
into their own
probably
hands?
Yes. I'll do that. I will stick with Fion. And
I don't think that Zaig is much of a worry, but perhaps Angus had a lover or a friend who would.
That's very sensible, Fulgur. I think you're right.
We won't be long.
I'll come with you,
Okay.
Fulgur.
So
Sounds good.
yeah, you two spot somebody kind of relatively official looking with a torch, wandering around the village.
I kind of flag them down, and I imagine they know I'm. They probably know that we're with Fion, and have probably heard all of the goss already, right?
You were from
assume
the
so.
look that you get when you wave him down. You presume that he knows about what's gone on. Yeah.
Well, I introduce myself
Mhm.
and say, yeah. We've only been into the village once before. I recognise that we don't have a lot of goodwill amongst Get, but we are trying to get to the bottom of this. And we just want to understand what happened. So did you know? I basically asked, did you see anything? When when did you last see Angus? When did you last see Fionn? And did you see anything suspicious?
Angus. Yeah, I saw Angus in the village yesterday with this friend. What's her name? Myella. She's the shepherdess.
Are they
they're friends,
often
I
seen
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good friends. I didn't see either of them. Last night, didn't see Angus leaving the village or anything like that. Or your friend, didn't see your friend leave the village either.
Where would we find Mayella if we wanted to speak to her?
Well, her home
flock.
just at the edge of the village. I imagine now.
And is it usual for people to take moonlit walks out by the lake, or is that not common?
Probably not that common.
Any fishermen who might have cause to be on the lake at night?
There's no fish in that lake. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
Well, no fishermen probably means no fish. I've heard some things about Harold, and he said he appears to know a few things about what's going on around town. Where could we find him?
You mean the mole?
The weasel, I hear.
Either or. You'll probably spot him. It's a short little weaselly, moley looking man. If you think that you see somebody peering around a street corner, it's probably Harold.
Somebody said that he gets quite pally with Argon there at night. Does Argon live in town, or does he visit?
No, he's up at the fortress mostly. They come down occasionally, but yeah, not.
Yeah, the fortress must be what, a few hours walk?
Yeah. They'll usually stay if they come down here, but just for a night. But yeah, I don't think Harold tends to go up there. He might send messages to them as well,
Well, who knows? Sophia, did you have anything? I probably missed something.
I mean, you must have heard about what's happened. Like, if someone told you that someone you knew had been attacked and found surrounded by wolves on the edge of town, what would you think? You must have some idea of who the dangerous players are around here, or what strange goings on there might have been.
Now, I have to be honest with you here, and I hope you don't take this as an offense, but I would presume it was the person who woke up next to them with a knife covered in blood.
That had also stabbed him. Our friend was hurt too.
We're not ruling out.
You know your friend, and we know Angus. It's difficult for us to rule this out as a possibility.
And we're not ruling it out either. If it turns out that Fionn has done this and lied to us, then we will make sure that he sees justice for it. But that's not his character, not the way we've known him. Not when we were lugging herbs back and forth from Derg to Melwyn.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
But
Look, if I see anything or hear anything, you're at the inn, right?
yes.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll let you know.
As we start wandering away, when I think we're out of earshot, I might just sort of quietly to Fulgur. He really didn't want it to be anybody other than Fionn, right? He shut right up.
Fionn's a likely suspect.
I understand, but if we'd come moments later and found Fionn dead too, then who would they be pointing their fingers at? That's all I want to know. We're lucky that we found Fionn alive, but we could have just as easily found him dead as well.
Fionn didn't look to be in that bad a shape to me when we arrived.
He's covered in blood and scars and bites, and
now he's walking around. I'm just saying, could be anyone. But yeah, no, I think we have to take. The town isn't going to accept it wasn't Fionn without good reasons, and I think.
I know, but how are we supposed to find the reason if they won't tell us anything other than Fionn did it?
Well, that's true. It will be challenging to prove Fionn didn't do it, especially given that there's basically, as of yet, no leads, no clues. So we'll have to look very hard.
Yeah.
Ragnall and Fionn. Are you, Steve? Is Ragnall going up to the room with Fionn?
Yes, I will be. Dice. I will be shadowing Fionn closely. So unless he tells me very specifically to not follow him, and I would be uncomfortable about that, I will be shadowing him wherever he goes.
Okay. When you are in the room, while Fionn is washing and changing, you hear the faint murmur of voices outside the window, and you know that where you are is basically like an alleyway between the inn and another building outside that window. That may be suspicious.
Well, I would
that conversation would be taking place out there.
I would certainly be interested to attempt to overhear any mutterings or.
Okay, can you make me a perception roll, please? I'm presuming that you're just going to try and listen out the window and not sneak down and into the alleyway itself.
Not with my stealth, no.
Cool. Yeah, if you want to make me a perception listening-y roll.
That's a 9 plus 6, 15.
Cool. Would that be the same if it were a seeing? Is it the same bonus that you've got for it? Okay. So you see two figures, shadowy figures, and overhear their conversation. You hear one saying, "People from Bald Rock gave a lot of money to get that to you." And then you see a letter exchange hands, and one of the figures walk off in one direction, and another one head off in the other direction.
Okay.
Based on your good perception seeing roll, you recognize the person giving the letter as Jalfred the Varigal, who arrived in town around the same time as you, and you're therefore aware of who he is.
Okay. But I don't recognize the other one.
You didn't see well enough. They were kind of cloaked in shadow.
Okay. And presumably from this angle, I don't see where they went beyond out of the alley, out of my field of view.
No.
Okay.
So Jalfred walked the way that would take him out, sort of where the front door of the inn is. And the other one went the other way.
Okay. I presume, Fionn, what are you? Are you in the room as well? Are you? I
Yeah, I'm
presume you're
probably
kind of
just,
preoccupied.
yeah, just soaking my probably only cloak in some water. Vaguely trying to like stitch up some holes in my tunic or something quickly.
Okay. I am kind of tempted to. So, Fionn, I. This might be unrelated. I heard something. I'm gonna check it out. I'll be back in a minute, and
Okay.
I think I might try and rush down to see if I can see Jalfred.
Yes, you see him sort of wandering across the village square away from you, but you could catch him.
I think I'll go after him. Yes.
Okay.
Don't know what I'm going to say. haven't thought that far ahead. This could be interesting.
Yeah, you catch him up.
Jalfred, is it?
Yes. Oh, you got here about the same time as me. I think I recognize you. Your friend's the one who... Well, sorry.
Yeah, I would glare at him a little bit. Not exactly glare, just, stony, icy sort of.
Flower.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, we don't know what's gone on. We need to find out, which is... Have you... You've been traveling around. Have you seen or heard anything recently?
Nothing of note, my friend, I'm afraid.
No.
Knights tried to toll me on the road, but...
Oh, the Haldron Knights.
Yeah, I told them to sling the hook.
Harold. Are you aware of Harold? Harold the Weasel, I think his name. Well, I think he's referred to that by a number of people.
Don't think I know Harold.
Okay. He's linked with them apparently. He talks to them on occasion. He might send them messages.
Huh.
You've not been...
None of them have come through me.
None at all.
I've only just got here. I've crossed a large chunk of the peninsula.
Oh, where have you been from then? Where did you travel from?
Bald Rock.
That's a long way to travel for to come here. It doesn't seem to be a particularly large place.
Well, you'll travel a long way for good pay, friend.
That is good. Yeah, that is a journey. Might I ask what prompted it?
Well, I was asked by somebody there to just deliver a letter to Alban, the guy who owns the mines, his son, I think. Yeah. Seems a weird young man.
Really? How so?
Yeah. Just my gut, friend. I've seen a lot of blokes in my travels, and that one, strange.
Well, we had, I'm not so fond of mines myself. We had some interesting dealings a little while ago. They can be strange places. I don't like them.
Person's supposed to be outside. That's
See the sky.
yeah. Well, I'm afraid I've got an appointment with a nice glass of ale. So, do you want to join me?
I'd love to, but another time maybe. I need to. There are things I need to do, as I'm sure you can imagine. Maybe later.
Of course. Very well. Well, safe travels to you, friend.
And you. And I'll head back to see how Fiona's getting on.
What are Sophia and Fulga returning to the inn after speaking to the watchman?
What do you think,
I think
Volga?
I would want to head on to see the. I mean, like, it depends how much of a rush we're in, but I think I would want to head on to see the shepherdess, and I probably would want to see as many people without Theon as possible, given that could elicit a certain reaction.
Let's go to the shepherdess.
Like as many of the interested parties before.
Yeah, Sophia
Okay.
would agree with all of that. So yeah.
In that case, Ragnall, as you are sort of walking back across the square, and Sophia and Fulga, as you are heading to Maella's home, you actually end up relatively near each other as you're kind of crossing the square. And you see the watchman kind of come running across the square. And he's shouting, and at different points as he kind of passes each of you. And I think Theon would probably hear through the now open window upstairs as well. The watchman is shouting, "There's another one! Another one's missing! Maella!" And I think we'll leave it there for this week.
Cool.
You should have got there quicker, Fulga.
Oh well. At least Theon wasn't going over there, and then he's gone, and Theon's right there, covered in blood again.
I like Fulgus. Oh, your cloak's covered in blood. You better go clean it. You just go. We don't want to go around with you everywhere. Okay, this is really awkward trying to interview people with the person.
It will be. It'll be really awkward.
I'm surprised you weren't like, here, have some nice scented soap, have a nice long relaxing bath.
I'm not. Fulga is not convinced that Theon didn't do it. I think
Theon
it's
is
the
not
most
convinced.
reasonable suggestion.
Theon is not convinced that Theon didn't do it. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What?
Thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and we can put them up on screen and discuss them in a moment. Just a reminder that there are links below this video to our Discord, which you should come join and say hi, our social media, and our Patreon, which you can subscribe to at varying tiers for varying rewards. Wednesday night, Simba Room. Thursday night, our World of Darkness system-spanning wild thing. And the first Saturday of every month is a different one-shot. Not sure what the February one's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be excellent. if you caught this but missed us doing Poison, that is all on YouTube, and you can watch that there. I said to the group before this started that I think this one is going to be shorter than Poison, and I think it is because we're at the end of Act 1 of 3 already. But the next adventure is longer, so it'll all come out in the wash. That's what they say, isn't it? All Theon's and Angus's blood will come out in the wash.
It won't.
I guess quite a lot of that, like scene, that first act bit is meant to be like the realization of how bad the situation is in the beginning part, when you wake up and go, "Oh God, what's going on? What have I done?" Yeah, that was a fun experience.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. I don't know, like if there like people comment or something in the chat, like how, like what maybe apart from Dabez who's read it, like whether they think Theon is guilty or not, because I was honestly baffled that everyone was like, "Wow, this looks like I probably murdered him." I'm like, "You've been stabbed. You've obviously been attacked."
It was a fight. It was perfectly reasonable. For some reason, we force each other.
And also, bear in mind that Theon healed himself with the worst of the damage before anyone arrived, so it doesn't look like he's actually that beaten up. Like,
but
he's like, "Oh, I got really beaten up. Really, where are the wounds? Oh, well, I kind of healed them."
The Ogham does leave a scar though, apparently. So.
Yeah, sure,
yeah.
but like, who's trained interpreting Occam scars? You know, for how long recently they were healed? Like, he did, like, super suspicious.
If I wake up having been stabbed and bitten, I don't think I'm guilty. End of story.
Oh yeah, I don't think Sam should think Theon's guilty.
I think Theon might think he's guilty in more of an abstract sense, in that he was manipulated into doing something terrible, so he's not literally guilty, but his hand might have done it. That's kind of where Theon's maybe at this point.
And also, I mean, Fulgur wouldn't be Fulgur if he wasn't sticking steadfast to his convictions, and the conviction of helping out friends is only just below the conviction of killing murderers.
As long as it stays there, I'm happy. It's all right. It's all right. It's nice to have a ranger of the party, from Inga, who's like, "You're obviously innocent," to Fulgur, who's like, "We're keeping an eye on you."
I'll turn you fucking in if there's a reward.
Wow.
Nice thing in the chat from T-Bliss 2012. Love me some Shadows of Esteren. Been meaning to start from the beginning on your stream. I think this person has disappeared and gone to watch Poison, and probably will rejoin us next week to watch live.
Hopefully,
which is nice. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
What else? I mean, this is me, obviously, but
I did chuckle to myself when I saw that. I was tempted to draw it out for as long as possible. Really
I was probably like here
like the Pelican Brief kind of deal going on. Yeah.
Well, especially because we've all spent points on combat, and now it's suddenly like gathering evidence.
I'm all right with that.
The courtroom, yeah. I did my +1 relations. It was maybe going to work.
I mean, every little helps.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if it means that Theon gets found guilty and ends up in jail or something, maybe we can stage a prison break.
Bust him out.
I wonder if that's actually a part of the story, because that would be fun. Like, you can just fail is written into the story, and then you have this whole thing where the town turns against you and you have to escape. I kind of hope it is. Not that it happens to us, because that's bad, but I kind of hope that's in the story.
Well, we know somebody who might know.
Yeah, DeBears, having read the adventure module to death, I enjoyed the players' theories and ideas thoroughly. I think, I know that DeBears has come from the Studio Agate Discord, which I posted in earlier. So thanks for joining us. And also, I posted in there because in this adventure, there is a character called Herven. And to save me reading like 40 pages really in depth to make sure I didn't miss some link, I was double checking that it wasn't the same Herven. And Herven is now Angus in this. So Angus's name was supposed to be Herven. But DeBez said that when they ran it...
Is this?
They used Angus as the character name. So thanks, because it saved me having to think up a name. This is very helpful.
Now it's just Angus.
So thanks for coming to join us. Yeah, it's Angus. So if I ever say Herven in relation to a character in this, it will be Angus, because there is no mention of the other Herven in this. Just for future reference.
Well, now of course
see-
we all think it's Herven, and that's like the secret mastermind. This is a whole new set of
It's
conspiracy
not.
theories.
I promise it's not.
Now I remember that scene in The Simpsons where they look at the mini license plate things, like with bought on it. It's just Herven. It's just all
Yeah.
Herven. This Herven's a very popular name.
Perfect. Tom.
Yeah, many names that are some variation of Herven too. My pronunciation is probably really off for loads of these character names, but I'm just doing what I can,
the
and I will
names-
give
the names
I'll
are
give
hard
written
work.
names to everyone.
Yeah,
Maybe it might even be worth flashing them up for people at home to
Yeah,
read.
you could do.
it could well be actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
We might have to,
Although maybe that makes it worse because then they see it and then they see how bad Johnny's pronunciation is. When they don't see it, they don't know. It's
Audience,
just however
please
Johnny
vote.
says it is correct.
How would you pronounce this?
we can have a poll. We can do polls and
Yeah, we'll have to wait for the poll to complete before we continue our story.
Although, yeah, cool.
that's really good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
Good start. I'm a bit shell shocked. Don't really know where to go.
I'm glad you roll low on the luck.
Yeah, I'm just
I
so
know.
glad it was you.
I'm so pissed off. You know, it was literally I said 5 minutes before I'm gonna make it through the whole story. Then I'm like, oh, Johnny just goes and throws me with massive injury at the start of the.
Oh
session.
yeah,
I'm
that was
avoidably-
Sam's aim, having got through poison with no points of damage, was to do the whole thing with no points of damage,
suppose it
and then
was
immediately
perfect
gets
karma.
put in critical. Yeah.
Perfect karma. Yeah.
Technically,
I
you
did deserve
didn't
it.
get, that didn't happen in game, so I think you're okay.
It's a cut. Yeah, it was a cutscene. You're fine.
Cutscene. You would, if you cut your finger off screen in between sessions, you wouldn't count that as a point damage.
It's true.
Excellent.
Cool. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be back at 8 p.m. It's GMT, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Just in
Why
case
not?
people are viewing in other places. 8 p.m. GMT next Monday for more of this. And there is Simba on Wednesday and World of Darkness on Thursday. So if you like those things, then also watch those, but definitely come back next Monday and
And we
find
have a
out.
Discord
if-
and
Yes, join us on Discord, please. The links are below the thing. And yeah. Ace. See you next Monday. Thanks, everybody.
cheers.